Welcome back to Strictly Politics. Joining our discussion now is Congressman Pidi Barzaga. He's a member of the Congressional Oversight Committee on Dangerous Drugs that held that hearing earlier today. Good evening, Congressman Barzaga.
Good evening also.
Okay, kanina po, marami sinabi si Attorney Verano, the lawyer for the Alabang Boys and Yusek Blancaflor. What do you think so far of what they've said? Verano, the lawyer for the Alabang Boys and Yusek Blancaflor. What do you think so far of what they've said, especially yung kay Attorney Verano, sinasabi po niyang defense ng mga kliyente niya?
Well, actually, the requirement of the rules of court is that in order to warrant the filing of a criminal case is that merely the existence of a probable cause. And therefore, insofar as this case is concerned, the only issue is which shall we believe? The allegation of the Pidi agents or the allegations of the accused or the respondent. And inasmuch as the prosecutor has already recommended the dismissal of the case, then in this particular case, the DOJ prosecutor has actually believed the allegations of the respondents in this particular case. Well, of course, when we speak of probable case, it merely requires a reasonable belief that a crime has been committed and the accused is probably guilty thereof.
And as far as you're concerned, sir, is there a reasonable belief that was a crime committed?
Well, based on these discussions which we have in the House this afternoon, according to the state prosecutor, the OJ prosecutor, is that he believes that the evidence was not evidences were not planted.
Meaning talagang nakuha doon sa mga
Talagang
sasakyan.
nakuha yung mga ebidensya, but he disregarded those evidence on the ground that they are the so-called fruits of the poisonous tree. It will not have any legal effect, considering that the arrest was made without any warrant and there has been a violation of the constitutional rights of the respondent.
And because the arrest was made without a warrant and the search of the vehicle was made without a warrant, although according to the PDA agents with the permission of the clients or their families, that throws the whole case out the window.
Well, in so far as I'm concerned, that's not. Because there are certain instances permitted by the rules of court where an arrest could be made even without any warrant. And the best case would be in cases wherein a crime has been committed. In this particular case, it was alleged that there was a buy-bust operation, meaning to say that there was a sale of prohibited drug. And if there is a sale of a prohibited drug, a crime has already been committed, the alleged seller could already be arrested.
Okay. Ang pinag-uusapan din po natin kasi dito, sir, is narco-politics, no? How politics gets involved here and how politicians could be involved. Or from what you've seen so far, from the time the story broke until today, is there politics involved here?
Well, I don't think so. But I have to emphasize that as early as September 21 and also on October 18, there were press releases already which appeared in the Philippine Star regarding the allegations that there were bribery attempts.
Okay.
So even before the dismissal was issued, there has been allegation in the press.
Okay. And do you believe that there were bribery attempts?
Well, it's really very hard to prove bribery. Because insofar as bribery is concerned, there are only two persons who would know it. It will be the recipient and the recipient and the giver. And therefore, it would be always a case of circumstantial evidence.
Okay. Kanina po yung, over the last few days, no, yung sa kwento ni Attorney Verano and Yusek Blancaflor, how Attorney Verano tried to get the DOJ to release his three clients. Did you find anything unusual there, or did you find everything in order, as far as you're concerned?
Well, for me, as well as for the other members of the House, there is no yet final dismissal. Because ang sabi nga, there is automatic review. And therefore, if the dismissal is not yet final, the respondents are not entitled to be released. Otherwise, it would defeat the purpose of automatic review. Yang sabi nga ni Congressman Goles, yun ang yung death penalty noong araw, it is subject to automatic review. If we shall enforce the death sentence immediately, automatic review would be useless. And therefore, it is our impression that para ma-release ang mga akusado o mga respondent, kinakailangan there must be a final dismissal, and that final dismissal should come from the Secretary of Justice, considering that the dismissal is subject to automatic review.
Kanina po sinabi ni, or nagkaroon po ng executive session where Major Marcelino was said to have told the committee kung sino yung na-bribe daw, yung nasuhulan. Is that correct, sir? Is that what happened?
No, there was no statement to that effect.
Okay. So what did he say? Well, he requested for an executive session, right?
He would be naming the person who approached him
Who
or who
approached
communicated with him regarding the bribe offer.
Okay. Yung bribe offer sa kanya na magkano daw po yung 3 million? Is
3 million.
3 million.
And he stated in open session that he will be naming that person in executive session. And he actually named him.
So lalaki. And ito, ano to, kamag-anak ng isa sa mga kliyente ni Atty. Verano?
Well, we don't really know.
You don't really know. I see. Pero pareho ba ng apelyido?
We are not at liberty to disclose.
Which is precisely why it was an executive session.
Yes. Otherwise, it might jeopardize future executive sessions to be conducted by the legislative body.
And what purpose will that serve? You know, what can the committee, the House committee, do now that you have that information? What are you going to do about it? How is it going to be of help to the public?
We will discuss how it would be useful to the ongoing House investigation.
But did Major Marcelino say how the offer was made? Was it by telephone or in person?
I'm also not at liberty
Oh, even
to disclose.
that?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. But it was made, I mean, in the last few days. Itong last few days or nung September pa ho?
Well, I don't really recall the exact date. But I think it was as early as September or October.
Okay. And then he turned it down.
Well, of course.
Of course, no? And when he turned it down, ano po yung sinabi daw ng nag-offer? Parang, it's okay? Parang okay lang?
I think there was no consistent follow-up.
I see. Okay. And it was made only once? The offer was made only once?
Yes.
Okay. And never repeated again by any other person?
Well, I don't think so. It was repeated.
Okay. And he never, but he still is in touch with that person.
Well, there was no communication to that effect.
What do you mean?
Well, there was no communication, there was no information given by Major Marcelino.
Okay. Did you ask him, well, if someone attempted to bribe you, then why didn't you arrest the guy on the spot or charge him, file cases against him?
Well, actually, that issue was us. Pero ang sabi nga ni Major Marcelino, baka mabaliktad pa. Na ang sabihin, kami ang nanghihingi, pero siya ang hinuli namin. And we understand the situation.
Okay.
Because, again, it will be a matter of credibility.
Okay. What else did he say, apart from naming the guy? I mean, without giving details, no? But what else was discussed in the executive session? In general lang, para we have an idea.
Well, actually, that was the major point.
That was it. Okay.